Okay. One of the biggest threats to crypto has always been quantum computing. I don't know how much you guys know about quantum computing, but it's always been one of the biggest threats to crypto. And when I heard 𝗙𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 speaking at the All-In Summit around quantum computing, I thought he may be alarmist. This is what he said. Oh, see, I'm not getting sound. Are you guys getting sound?
No. Check if your DV cable is on.
Okay, let me try and get you guys sound so that you guys can actually see. You can actually see what's going on here. Yeah, the cable should be in. Okay, are you hearing me though? Is everyone hearing me?
Yes.
Okay, well,
We can hear you.
okay. So 𝗙𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 actually warned us about quantum computing at the All-In Summit, and to be honest, he said that it's about 5 to 10 years away, and I thought that he was being pretty alarmist. But the truth is that yesterday, Google actually made an announcement around their quantum computing. And instead of quantum computing being a long way away, they're talking about quantum computing being around in the next 5 or 10 years, being a threat to crypto in the next 5 or 10 years. And the truth is that this is one of the biggest, this is probably one of the biggest threats to crypto that there actually is. And I think we need to talk about quantum computing and how real this quantum computing threat is to crypto. Because if Google is making waves or is making progress at the rate at which they're talking about, then it could be a very big risk. So today we're going to talk about probably the biggest risk to crypto, which is quantum computing. Let's get going, guys. That we've got a brand new image there. Hardest. Who made that image for us? It was very cool. Anyway, guys, welcome back. I don't know why we don't have sound here today. I don't know. Maybe I think I maybe unplugged the cable here or something. But it seems that we don't have like all the sound effects and the music. But it doesn't matter because the content's still here. That's the most important thing. I'm here. I'm bringing you crypto love. I'm bringing you cryptoism. I'm back in the studio after 2 weeks of not being in the studio. I'm actually back in the studio. I'm bringing you a big show today. We've got one of our researchers. He's here all the way from Egypt. Naz, say hi to the people, bro. Wait. Naz, go to my desk and bring the present you brought me. go to my desk. You must see this present he brought me from Egypt. You must see this present he brought me from Egypt. I'll show you. You tell me what you think of this present he brought me. Anyway, guys, listen. Big show today. We're going to talk about the top in gold. We're going to talk about quantum computing and whether it's a big risk for crypto, whether it's all being alarmist. Do me a favor, because I wasn't here yesterday, algorithm doesn't know that I'm back. I need you guys to smash the like button. I see there's 160 likes now. Let's try and get it to 300 in the next like 10 seconds. Okay, 9, 8, 7, 6. You're going to have to move much faster than that. 5, 4. Bro, I think the like button's broken, Hardest. I think the like button's broken. Yeah, so please help me. Here's the gift that Naz bought me from Egypt. Guys, you got to see this. Tell me what I'm missing here. That's what he bought me. What Naz, what is this exactly? Well, what is this exactly?
That's my granddad. That's my
guys, what is this?
It's history.
It's history. Someone says your internet's pausing. Can it be that can't be that my internet's pausing? No, it's not mine. All right, guys, let's talk about what's going on the markets. I mean, when we do cross over to the markets, what we're seeing not much actually happening. I said to you, this is what's going to happen. I mean, this is a drawing that I made a few days ago, remember? Basically, we're going to chop, and we're going to go down and we're going to sweep the lows. And whilst we're going down and we're sweeping the lows, it's going to get more and more people frustrated. We're going to get a whole lot of little pumps. Every time we get those pumps, they're going to be rejected. You can see that what I'm doing here is I am keeping this this poll. Every day I ask the same question. I ask, do you think the bull market's over? Do you think the bull market's over? And every day you can see we're getting closer to more and more people believing that the bull market's over. And that, for me, is the time of when this correction will end. We need fear and greed to be below 25 for 7 consecutive days in a row. And we need more people to believe that the bull market's over than don't believe that the bull market's over. And when that happens, on the day that happens, then I think the market will surprise us all and we'll actually keep going back up. That's basically what's going to happen. Honestly, you see the Bitcoin price in the top left-hand corner there? Do you see it's a bit like squiff?
Let me see.
Can you maybe fix it? Because it's like, you know. Also, I'd love my music back. You know what I'd do just to get some music going there? Anyway, it's not working. Can you hear now? There we go. You see, now we've got music. Amazing. Let's talk a little bit about inflation, because we actually do have the inflation numbers coming out tomorrow. Remember, it's the government shutdown. And even in the government shutdown, we're getting inflation numbers coming out. I don't know why they're doing that. I don't know why the people are bringing us inflation numbers. It could be because there's an FOMC around the corner. Anyway, as it stands now, the expectations for inflation, 3.1%. Remember that the last inflation reading was 3.1%, so we're expecting inflation to be static. If inflation is static, I think we're okay. If inflation is not static, or we go up with the inflation, I still think we're okay, because I think no one really cares. But I mean, let's just be alarmist about it and say, okay, well, then it's a big problem. I think they could be releasing the CPI data during the government shutdown, because the CPI data is actually good. Remember that next week, Wednesday, we have the FOMC meeting. So we have the FOMC meeting, and I think we're going to get another rate cut. I'm 99% sure we're getting another rate cut. I'm 98.9% sure we're getting another rate cut at that meeting. One thing that I must warn you on the horizon is that Trump has now sanctioned, he said, 2 of the largest oil companies that fund the Kremlin's war machine. And so they're oil companies, right? And as a result of that, the oil price is now shooting up. Now, you know what happens when the oil price shoots up? The oil price has shot up $5 from $60 to $65. When the oil price goes up, that's bad for inflation. So I think Trump, again, is shooting himself. Look, he needs to do what he needs to do. But again, he's shooting himself in the foot, because that's going to push inflation up. And when we get inflation up, you know what could happen if that happens. So no wonder that with everything that's going on, no wonder that gold is going through the roof. But actually, it went through the roof, and then it started to cool down, because you've got the US national debt now exceeding $38 trillion. At the same time, they're talking about reducing interest rates into an environment of 3.1% inflation. Like, you understand what's going on here, right? Like, we are reducing interest rates in an environment where inflation is at 3.1% and going up, and they've just pushed the oil price up by 9% in the last 2 days. That's not really a good environment, and that's probably why gold is reacting the way that gold is reacting, because gold sees that the dollar is basically just on this mission to destroy itself. Anyway, long story short, when it comes down to the gold price, we had a massive drawdown in the gold price in the last 2 days, right? Now, I mean, I know for crypto people, when you talk about a drop down from top to bottom of 8%, that doesn't sound like a lot. But in gold terms, that's a massive, massive, massive wipeout, because that's $2.3 trillion. And when you talk about $2.3 trillion wiped off, that's like wiping out 55% of the crypto market in like 2 days. That's basically what happened when gold went back there. I mean, lucky for us, as crypto people, the one thing you learn is you learn markets and market cycles and stuff like that. And that's why when I saw these images the other day, that's why I made a video on the other channel where I said, basically, look, this has got to be a gold top. When you start seeing images like this, people lining up for NFTs, or, I mean, these guys aren't lining up for NFTs, but it's the same thing. Just replace the word gold with NFTs, replace the word gold with meme coins, replace the word gold with, you know what the new thing now is? Labubu dolls. Do you know what a Labubu doll is, Hardest?
I have no idea.
Tomorrow I'll bring you a Labubu doll. I bought my kids a Labubu doll. Now, when people line up for things, that you know that's a top. So we in crypto, we knew that was a top, and that's why I made a video on the other channel on Crypto Insider. If you're not subscribed, you should go. I'm just subscribed to my own channel. You should go and subscribe to the other channel, because that's where I make much more timeless videos. And I made a video here saying this was the top for gold. This was a video that I made 5 days ago. Turned out that was exactly the top for gold. We know, because we're in crypto, we understand how markets move, because markets are all the same. Doesn't matter whether it's energy, whether it's corn, whether it's whatever it is, whatever the commodity is. Markets are the same. You know when there's euphoria. You know when the RSIs get heated, when the RSIs go through the roof like this. And you say, okay, the RSIs, which is the stochastic, which is the sentiment indicator, the momentum indicator. You know that when it spikes to like 92, which is the highest level since 1980 and 1970, you know that gold is going to start cooling down. And that's exactly what gold did, right? That's exactly what it did. And as Peter Brand says, he says, like, yeah, crypto bros are saying, listen, it's only a 5 or 6 or 7% move. But that one move is the equivalent of wiping out 55% of crypto's total market cap. So what I think is happening with gold? I think we've seen a local top. I do believe that gold's going to carry on running. But remember what we want, because we're crypto people. We want gold to consolidate, because the last couple of times that gold's consolidated, we have gone up on the charts, right? So gold consolidates, right? Gold goes up, gold consolidates, Bitcoin goes up. Gold goes up, gold consolidates, Bitcoin goes up, right? We want that move. Generally, when gold consolidates, the gold-silver chart also moves, right? So if you look at the gold to silver ratio, we got to the top of this gold to silver ratio. So now what you kind of want to see is you want to see people moving away from gold into riskier gold, which is silver and Bitcoin. That is our best case scenario over here. Now that scenario is also it's also shown quite clearly by this chart. So what is this chart? It's a chart that Raoul made, right? And he basically took Bitcoin and gold with a 100-day lag. Okay, so if you look at the chart, the yellow one is gold, and the blue gold plus 100 days, and the other one is Bitcoin. Now what you can see is that these charts are basically mirror images of one another, and that means that if this is correct, then this scenario actually could be playing out, and in 100 days you're going to get Bitcoin making that parabolic move. So that's our best case scenario right now. I did break that down in this video over here on Crypto Insider. If you're not already subscribed to Crypto Insider, go and subscribe. There's a link below. If there's no link below, Johnny will put a link below. Johnny will put the link below first. I'm sure Johnny's already done it. Okay, so that is the story around gold. I do believe that for now, gold is seeing a local top. I hope that gold is seeing a local top for now. But you know what? Like with all tops, you can actually go much higher. Like you can actually have like one more leg up. On the 4 hour, I mean, the thing that made me really believe that we may have seen a top is this double top on the 4 hour. So that's a double top, and on the 4 hour, double top can actually mean that that's what's happening. All right. Let us look at the big announcement that was actually made yesterday, and what is probably the biggest threat. Let's put down music on. Amazing. So let's talk about the big announcement that was made yesterday by Google around quantum computing and what this big announcement's all about, right? So for those of you who don't know or haven't been following what quantum computing is, effectively, if you were to break it down into very simple language, quantum computing is the ability to compute much faster than supercomputers, right? It's like a new dimension in the speed at which computers, the speed and the power at which computers can actually compute. And a lot of the companies have been working on quantum computing. And yesterday, Google, this is Sundar Pichai, who's the head of Google, right? And he says, new breakthrough in quantum algorithm published in Nature today. Our Willow chip has done the first ever verifiable quantum advantage. Willow ran the algorithm, which we've named quantum echoes, 13,000 times faster than the best classical algorithm of one of the world's fastest supercomputer. This new algorithm can explain interactions between atoms in a molecule using nuclear magnetic resonance, paving a path towards potential future uses in drug discovery and material sciences. The result is verifiable, meaning its outcome can be repeated by other quantum computers or confirmed by experiments. This breakthrough is a significant step to the first real-world application of quantum computing, and we're excited to see where it leads. So, effectively, they landed up making a very, very, very big breakthrough in quantum computing. So now you got to ask yourself a question. We are a crypto channel. We're not a quantum computing or AI channel. And the question is, why do we actually care about quantum computing, right? I mean, why should we care about quantum computing? Because that's for the AI channel, which, by the way, we're not launching yet. So I'll explain it to you very simply, right? You know that all your crypto is stored, and the mechanism to unstore or unlock your crypto is this thing called the private key. Now, what is the private key? The private key is a random number of numbers. How many numbers? 64 numbers, man? How many numbers in a private key? Lots of numbers, lots of numbers, okay? Numbers and letters inside a private key. Now, the thing with that is that the reason why your crypto is so safe is because the private key is generated by this thing called an elliptic curve, right? And it's a mathematical curve. And that makes the random generation of those numbers in the private key almost impossible to crack or impossible to crack. It's almost, you need so much computing power to crack the private keys that it's like pretty much, like imagine having to, it's almost like if you think about your credit card or your ATM card, and you think about the 4-number combination, you think to yourself, imagine having to stand there and put in every single number from 1 to 9,999 to try and crack the password for the ATM key. Well, it's the same with private keys, except that the private keys are much, much, much more numbers, right? Like there's, how many numbers is it? Can you chat GPT it? I think it's 64, but.
164 big. That's a really big number.
Okay, so the problem is that with these developments around supercomputing and around quantum computing, it means that they can run mathematical algorithms to crack your private keys, and they can actually eventually crack your private keys in a much, now it's becoming much, much, much more realistic. In other words, they have enough computational power with quantum computing to crack your private keys and in fact to access your crypto. And if that happens, then effectively we won't be able to store our crypto and we won't be able to store our private keys. Now, this is not a new problem. In fact, when Satoshi created Bitcoin, he actually knew about this problem, and he said, like one day there's going to be a problem with this, and we're going to have to solve for this problem. But right now, the big surprise is that initially experts thought that this would take much longer. When they took all the components and they took all the available computation and they plotted out the available computation, how fast the computation is going to grow, they kind of thought that this problem will exist, but this problem will exist many, many, many years away. After Google's breakthrough, I want to just show you something, because even in December, the CEO of Google basically said, look, practical quantum computing is 5 to 10 years away, right? And that was on the 13th of February, 2025. But now they went and made this big breakthrough yesterday, or they announced the big breakthrough yesterday. And now it puts our crypto pretty much at risk, and it's got people paying attention. I mean, even Elon Musk, he said yesterday, congrats, looks like quantum computing is actually now becoming relevant. Also, it's becoming so relevant that the government has actually started to invest, not only the government, but the Trump administration and the Trump Corporation have started to invest in quantum computing firms. As Alex Kruger says, he says, the US government is investing in quantum stocks. It also tells us that it's not crazy to think that if CapEx starts to disappoint, the government could absorb the slack in its arms race to beat China against quantum computing. Because remember, quantum computing means that you're going to have the strongest computing power in the world, or the strongest computer in the world. And the winner of the race of the strongest computer in the world effectively could win the AI race and a whole lot of other things. So now let's talk about how scary this actually is for Bitcoin. And this is an article which calls Q-Day, which is the day, they define Q-Day over here as this is the moment when quantum machines become powerful enough to break the cryptographic foundation underpinning Bitcoin, ETH, and most layer ones, right? And initially it was thought to be a long, long, long way away. But now with this new breakthrough, there are arguments as to whether this thing can be 5 years away, 10 years away, etc., etc. Now, even though you may say, hold on a second, but 5 years away is still a long time away. When you make an investment and you're looking at it like a Bitcoin or an Ethereum, you're looking at a 10, 20, 30-year time horizon. If you know that quantum computing can break the private key system in the next 5 to 10 years, and there may not be a solution for it, then you may say to yourself, hold on a second, that means that this whole movement or this whole cryptocurrency revolution is actually pretty much a waste of time, right? So let's talk about what people are saying as to when this can actually arrive. Optimists are arguing that quantum machines are capable of breaking ECC are decades away. Okay, that's the one view. Conservatives are saying 2035 to 2040, and alarmists are saying 2026 to 2027. This report also says that there are some wallets that have already revealed their private keys and are essentially sitting ducks for Q-Day computation, and they'll be very, very, very quick to hack. In fact, it says roughly 25 to 30% of all Bitcoin is vulnerable due to older P2P-KH addresses. This is an old address mechanism. And with Ethereum, it's about a 65% that all Ethereum transactions are now vulnerable. So long story short, with this breakthrough that Google's actually made, And I remember the last time that there was a breakthrough it was made. We're like, after the last breakthrough, we're like, okay, this is going to be 2040, 2050. And then just a couple of months later or a year later, it's like, okay, hold on. It might go from 2050 to 2030. 2030 is 5 years away. Imagine that in 2030, all our crypto, or the government or Google would have created a computer that can basically crack every single one of our private keys. That's the world in which we're currently living in. So that's the reality. The reality is that it's starting to be a big thing, and it's happening much, much, much quicker than we actually imagined. And governments are starting to pay attention to this. And this is why the Trump Corporation and the Trump administration is starting to take equity stakes in these quantum computing companies, because everyone wants to be the first to actually deal with it. So I asked ChatGPT, and I asked ChatGPT, and I said to him, look, ChatGPT, what are the chances? What will quantum computing break Bitcoin SHA-56 by 2030? And the answer was, it's very unlikely that it would actually happen. Given all the technical hurdles, the consensus is no, or at least very unlikely, for a full SHA-256 hash, which is the Google algorithms formula. It is very, very, very unlikely to happen by 2030. But okay, if it's not 2030, it could be like 20. Let's see if we can get the sound back here. Oh, I know why. You know why it wasn't giving us? Because I had it on the mute sound tab. This is what 𝗙𝗃𝗫𝗍 was saying. Listen, let's listen to it.
Answer, I feel like 50-50 within 5 years there is a quantum breakthrough, and part of that is because of how fast AI.
Just define breakthrough.
Like
you can run Shor's algorithm.
We should migrate Bitcoin to a quantum resistant signature scheme. This is my bet, and this is because we're just so many technologies are converging right now, and this asymptotic rate AI and how fast it's accelerating, going from a research paper to an implementation is like astounding. So I would try to encourage folks to speed things up. My key for this is Google and Apple adopt a quantum resistant cryptographic stack. This is the time to go migrate, because now the consumer side of it is effectively solved, and you don't have to kind of.
So you watch where Google's going.
Yeah, but yeah, I think the people, you should be worried if you're in the field, but for the general public, quantum computing is such a massive unlock in terms of how much we can process, that it's going to be as big of a wealth creator if we pull it off as AI. So I think this is, to me, like a lot of work, engineering work. We have the right people to do it, but like for everyone else, it should be like a huge opportunity.
But to your point, the report.
So let's talk about what he's saying. He's saying basically in the next 5 years or whatever, you got to watch out for what's actually happening with quantum computing. Now, let's talk a little bit about how stressed you should be. Well, the truth is, I don't think you should stress. And the reason why I don't think you should stress is because it's like stressing about climate change, right? Like, it's not going to help. You can stress as much as you want. It's not going to help. And the truth is that if we get to a point where quantum computing actually can break Bitcoin's algorithm and Ethereum's algorithm, then at that point in time, we're going to have much, much, much bigger things to worry about. Pretty much no cryptography is going to be safe. Also, Satoshi saw this problem, and he said that at some point we're going to have to start thinking about making Bitcoin and Ethereum and all the other chains quantum computing resistant. And Satoshi's not the only one. If you've been following 𝗬𝗎, one of the heads of 𝗬𝗎, one of the head developers of 𝗬𝗎 is this guy called Costas. And he's been talking about making the blockchain quantum ready for a very long time. And so I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think that over time, as we get closer to quantum computing, we're going to have to, as we understand more about quantum computing and how these quantum computers actually work and what their limitations are, we're going to have to create algorithms that make the chain safe from quantum computing. And I think that every single chain already has it on its roadmap. So it's not like these guys got blindsided and all of a sudden there's this new computer. These guys have been warning about quantum computing for a while. You saw 𝗙𝗃𝗫𝗏 worrying about it then. Costas from 𝗬𝗎 has been talking about this for a long time. Algorand said that they're going to build, that they're building around the threat of quantum computing. Eli Ben Sasson from Starknet, he said that basically if you're using ZK, then you're pretty much safe. If you're using Zcash, shielded transactions are quantum resistant. So it's not like this thing caught us by surprise. And it's not like there's much that you can do about it. There was a great quote that I read here. Here, Jeff Park actually had this quote. He said, quantum computing is basically the climate change of Bitcoin. Plenty of idiots who deny it because they can't possibly grasp the amorphous or the astronomical, and plenty of scientists that understand it yet have no socially compelling solutions to offer. So it's like there's no solutions, like climate change. We know the problems on the horizon, and we just have to hope that as a collective and as a community, we can come up with some kind of resolution. And I think we will to all of these. All the big scientists and all the big blockchain guys are already thinking about it. And as I said to you before, Satoshi, when he created Bitcoin, he thought 5 steps ahead, and he knew that one day this would actually happen. So is it a risk? Yes, it is. Can you do anything about it? No, you can't. Can you put your money anywhere else? Yes, you can put your money in fiat currencies in the bank. I still believe I'd rather take the chance of quantum computing. Can you invest in it? Can you make money out of quantum computing? So yes, there's a whole lot of companies on the stock exchange which are tackling the quantum computing problem. In crypto, there are very, very, very few investments that you can make specifically in the field of quantum computing. One of the investments that you can make is a token with a very low market cap. I've got to warn you. It's called 𝗙𝗏, right? 𝗙𝗏, let's see if there's, I think their market cap must be like, it's tiny. It's like $5 million. And this is the only real access to a quantum computing network that I actually know. So these guys have actually got space on IBM's quantum computer, and they rent out the space to crypto people. They've also got a quantum computing resistant wallet, etc., etc. Now, again, it's got a $4.5 million market cap. I've spoken to the guys before, smart guys, but there's not many things that you can do. Look, you can also invest in what they call quantum resistant blockchains. And there's quite a few of these quantum resistant blockchains, right? But the thing is, do you want to invest in like Nervos network or Algorand just because it's quantum resistant? No, because, great, so you'll have something that's quantum resistant, but there's no one else building on it. So like, it would be it would be quantum resistant, and that's all it would be, because that's all there basically is. So I wouldn't panic about it. I'd keep it on the horizon. Keep reading whatever you can. It's not happening for the next 5 years. If it does, by that time, as you can see, people like Anatoly and people like Kostas from 𝗬𝗎 are actually solving for it. And I believe that the Bitcoin network will eventually fork and become onto a quantum resistant technology. But I don't think it's going to happen right now, because right now nobody knows how to deal with this, because only yesterday was this big announcement actually made. So that's my view on quantum computing and the threat that is quantum computing. It is the biggest threat to crypto. I think it's very, very far away. Although I have heard rumors that the CIA are making big progress in terms of quantum computers that people don't know about. I think that's just rumors though. What else? There's a few things I wanted to discuss with you. First of all, guys, I'm looking for more researchers, right? If you like are the kind of person who wants to go full time into crypto, and you're absolutely obsessed, and you're in Discords, and you're in Telegrams, and you're in Twitter, and you're on Twitter, and you're constantly finding alpha, and you know your altcoins very, very well, come and join my team. It's one of the toughest jobs in the world, but I promise you it's one of the most rewarding jobs in the world. We are looking for probably 3 to 4 full-time researchers to join the team. If you want to join us, there's a link here for probably 3 to 4 full-time. There we go. So there is just click on this. There's an application form that you have to fill in. Please don't cheat and don't ask ChatGPT or Grok to help you, because then when you do the interview, it'll just be a bit weird. Also, I do see a lot of you farming the Gravity airdrop. I think you guys are doing amazingly. If you're not already farming the Gravity airdrop, guys, this is a decentralized perps DEX with privacy. They're going to do an airdrop. It's going to be massive when it actually happens. And all you need to do to get the airdrop is to trade using this referral link. If you do, you earn our squad points, right? And yeah, you earn our squad points. Tomorrow, we're going to be using that to run another one of our Banter Raoul trading competitions. So remember that like Pump Fund token, that Banter Raoul Pump Fund token. Tomorrow, we're doing it again, and it's going to work on Pump Fund, right, Hardest?
Yes.
It's going to work tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing one of those trading competitions, the one where we exactly like the one we had last time. I think that's it for today. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friend. Hardest.